I'm out on the road again in this effort to lose some weight, to try to turn back this type 2 diabetes that I've been told that I've got by the doctors. So this is day 18 actually of being out walking. I can't bear the thought of running. That would be absolutely ridiculous with my fat lump of a body trying to trudge it on the roads. And I ain't going to go to the gym because that's full of posers and stuff like that. And I'm an old man, right, and I don't want to really be getting too involved with that. So I thought, well, walking's a good idea. I've been doing about 3 miles a day. I topped out at 4 miles the other day, which was really good. But it did hurt my leg. I did end up with a little bit of pain in the leg. So you've got to be careful not to push yourselves too far, boys and girls. But it's going all right. But what I thought was, yesterday, as I was walking around, I was chatting to you guys, and I found it quite useful, found it quite helpful, motivation, keep me sort of thinking. So I thought, well, today, as I'm walking around, I could do it again, have a chat, talk about something. So what I thought I'd talk about today was a YouTube video called The Overlap. So if you've not seen The Overlap, it's actually really good. Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, Roy Keane. I think they've had Skulls on as well. But it's quite good because what they do is they take fans, generally fans that are doing podcasts and YouTubes and stuff like that, I guess. But like not like mine, like proper ones and popular ones. And they have them on and they talk about the different clubs and so on. So this time, the last one was just Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, and they kind of give their opinion, but then they chat with with the specific fans. So they had a Liverpool and Man City fan there, talk about the title. Then they had Everton, Burnley and Leeds talking about relegation, and it was all really polite, really jovial, a little bit of banter, nothing too terrible. And then they did race for the top 4. So of course you've got the Don, Robbie Lyle from AFTV, who personally I've got no problem with. I think the guy is really done well, and his ideas and stuff, and how he's made YouTube into a really important part of football fans' culture and kind of weekly thing, was on there. And there was a guy called Bardi for Tottenham, who is part of the guys who do the Fighting Cock, I think. But good guy. I've listened to the Fighting Cock a lot over the years. I think it was a really good podcast for me. Sort of going back a lot of years now. It's been going quite a while. Anyway, so it's Bardi, Robbie Lyle, and they're chatting on the thing, and straight away it's straight into digs and banter and aggravation. And Bardi don't really help himself, because he made a bit of a nervous comment at the beginning about it being Arsenal's greatest season. What he was talking about was they felt they were having a great season with their young team, but it kind of didn't come out quite right and got jumped on. But the reason why I'm raising it is it didn't really get jumped on by Carragher and Neville and that. It got jumped on by that idiot Ty, who, all mic'd up, in the audience starts barracking and shouting down Bardi, so you couldn't really understand what was really going on. And it just got me to thinking of how typical that is of that type of fan. And I'm sure all clubs have them, but Ty kind of almost epitomises it. You know, the deluded fan, covered in club merchandise, you know, just constantly having digs rather than actually being a reasonable person who you could have a proper debate with. So all he was doing was sitting there going, did you win a trophy though? Did you win a trophy? Did that give you a trophy? So you finish above us, so is that a trophy? When you can win a trophy, when you can have an Invincibles team, blah blah blah, then come back to me and all this bullshit. And I'm like, mate, shut the fuck up, it's nothing to do with you. No one's talking to you. You're not even on the couch, you're in the audience. Nobody else in that whole episode was shouting at each other from the sidelines. Nobody else in that whole episode was barracking and being disrespectful. It was like a typical deluded fan moment. It absolutely embarrassed himself. But for me, it spoiled it, you know, because I consider myself to be a bit of a reasonable sort of person. You know, I love seeing Arsenal lose. I love the fact that we finished above them and so on. But I'm not deluded enough to be able to deny that in the past they've been a great team. You know, it pains me, of course it does. You know, I can remember the 1-0 to the Arsenal teams of yesteryear, but I can also remember the Thierry Henry, you know, the Dennis Bergkamp, the Robert Pires, you know, Emmanuel Petit, you know, Patrick Vieira. These guys are, you know, undeniably great players, and they played a great style of football, which was really annoying because Arsenal had never really been known for that up until that point, and that annoys me, you know, because, you know, I hate the fact that they were successful, but you can't deny it. You can't walk away from it. And I've got to be honest, if Arsenal would have beaten Newcastle, okay, and then pipped us to top 4, I think I would have been gracious enough to say, you know what, they probably deserve it on the balance of how it all went. Now that might shock a few people, but it's true, because you have to remember, they beat Chelsea, who we lost to 5 times. They beat West Ham. They beat Man United, who beat us twice. You know, in that run towards the end, right? When they needed it, they pulled it out of the bag. They were right rock bottom in the season at one point, and yet they managed to get all the way back up battling for top 4. Now, the reality is, it probably says more about how poor the season's been than anything, because, you know, for Tottenham and Arsenal to be battling for top 4, given, you know, the other teams that are about, it's just crazy, right? Because it was a real up and down season most of the time. You know, there was we lost a lot of games. We drew games that we shouldn't have done. So to still be there at the end of it, for me, was phenomenal. So I'm going to celebrate it, you know, and be all over it. But at the same time, I know how close that could have been. It wasn't to be. But why can't you be gracious up to a point? I'm not saying get out and go, oh yeah, you were fantastic, you deserved it, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you can't just sit there and go, oh, you got top 4, do you get a trophy for it? When you spent 20 years getting top 4 and seeing it as a trophy and rubbing everybody else's noses in it, right? Never done fuck all with it, never won it, never really competed in it, never really got very far in it, apart from that one time. And yet you're lauding it like we're making it out as if it's fantastic, when you didn't. It just makes you look muggy. And when they talk about empty trophy cabinets, that's another thing that really gets up my nose. Yeah, okay. We haven't won a trophy for 14 years. We've got to finals, we've got to semi-finals. We've had a poor ratio in those and done nothing. And I ain't going to deny that. But you cannot go away from the fact that we are one of the teams that has won the FA Cup the most times. Okay, not the most times now, but we have in the past. We're up there. We ain't won it once, you know. It's not a, oh, you won it once, that's it, shut up. Not like a Southampton, you know. And on top of that, there is also the point about being the first team to do the domestic double, the first team to win a European trophy, the only team and the first to win the FA Cup as a non-league team, right? So get back in your box when you talk about history, especially when you talk about football history, and have a little bit of gracious attitude, a little bit of, you know, all right. And I know you're only judged on how good you were the last season. So over the last 6 seasons, Arsenal haven't finished above us. And he made a big thing about that. Oh yeah, did you get a trophy for that? No, we didn't. But you know what? We didn't name a day after it and have a flag made and jump around like a bunch of idiots. You know? Remind you of anyone? Does me. So it kind of just, I don't know, it just kind of got up my nose a little bit because it's so petty and two-faced. You know, and I think sometimes these people go on there and he's like a clickbait sort of person, you know. I'm sure they mic'd him up specifically to get the result that they got because it suits the agenda. And I don't blame them, I guess, you know. They're probably making plenty of money out of all the views that they're getting on their YouTube, you know. So, you know, it is what it is. But it kind of just annoyed me slightly, got my back up and got me thinking a little bit about it and about how deluded some of these people are, you know, and how ungracious they can be. But I guess that's probably why when you look at it in the cold light of day, that's why the North London derby and the hatred of one set of fans to another is such a big thing, because undoubtedly we hate them and they hate us. You know, I saw something else today with Liam Gallagher where he was asked whether he'd rather Man United win something or Liverpool, and his response was Man United. And yet the football world tried to tell you that Man City, Man United is a rivalry. Is it? Really? You know, clearly not. Clearly the only rivalry is about who's, you know, winning and who's challenging. You know, so it's a different kind of rivalry. But it's not a derby. It's not a footballing derby. Even though Liverpool and Manchester are quite close to each other, doesn't make it a derby. Not when you've got two teams in the same city. That's a derby. You know, and undoubtedly Liverpool fans and Everton fans, you know, the reality of that is those guys sit next to each other at football, you know, in the grounds and all the rest of it. It's not really a rivalry, not in the real sense of how I see a real rivalry. Anyway, I digress and waffle, but just thought I'd put this out there just to give me something to focus on whilst I'm walking, to take my mind off the fact that I'm a lard ass trying to become less of a lard ass. So if you have a chance to watch this video, give us a comment, give us a like, let us know that it was worth doing, and then we'll see how we go from there. I may even be back tomorrow, you never know. I'll definitely be walking tomorrow, but whether I can do a video about it, I don't know. Anyway, I'll leave you there. Thanks for watching. Up the Spurs.